guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Brianna, and today it is February 4th actually, so we have 10 days until Valentine's Day, so I thought it would be fun to read like romancy books. It doesn't have to be strictly romance, but like women's fiction with a romance subplot, or I have some YA romance books that would be really fun to get to, or like romantasy, fantasy romance, like really just anything with romance in it I want to read before Valentine's Day because it's just the season for love. We need to read some love-dovey books, okay? Spice, what are you doing? And then also this video is going to be posted before Valentine's Day, so if you still want to get some lovey books read before Valentine's Day, really, I think the whole month of February is perfect for reading romance. Like, just because Valentine's Day is over doesn't mean the love has to stop. Love should be 365 days of the year, 366 during leap year. So we're just gonna have a little cozy, romancy reading vlog today. If you guys haven't watched any of my reading vlogs before, I usually read like 3 to 4 books. I will just take some clips of me reading and then I update you on my thoughts throughout the book. It is all spoiler free. We don't spoiler on here, or spoil. We don't spoil. Spoiler? I don't know. I just like reading vlogs because then you can get my full thoughts and reactions as I'm reading it. It's not like an afterthought then, and obviously I'm gonna be like totally transparent, totally honest, because I don't want you guys wasting books or wasting your time on books, even though reading is subjective and I might love something that you don't and you might love something that I don't, but I still do my best to recommend books that I would like to you. Let's just get into this video. I actually just started the first book for today's video, and that is 7 X's by Lucy Vine. My husband actually got this for me on my birthday last year, which I don't think I said, but today as I'm filming this is my birthday, so I have had this book on my TBR for a year. And I really wanted it a year ago. Like, I always planned on reading it. It's not that I didn't want to read it. I was really like gravitating toward it because the title is 7 X's, and it made me think of Scott Pilgrim Saves the World, and that movie kind of has like an inside joke between me and my husband. In that movie, the main character has to defeat the 7 evil exes of the love interest, so that's immediately what I thought of about this book, even though that's not what this book is about. This book is about Esther, who just has not been able to find her person, her one true love. She stumbles upon a magazine article, or like an article in an old magazine, and it says that the average person will have 7 exes before they find their one true love. So Esther thinks back and she's like, oh my gosh, I've literally had 7 exes that all fit the description in this magazine article. So that means my one true love has to be the next person I am like in a serious relationship with. So I think we're just following Esther through that. I think this is more like a women's fiction rather than romance because it's like a lot about self-discovery as well. So I'm really excited for that. I actually, like I said, already started this and I already have a highlight that I will read to you guys because I am obsessed with it. It says, imagine if you were someone I could just let go with, someone I could stop worrying about holding it all together in front of. Imagine if I could be all of me I hate so much, if you were the one person in the world who wouldn't judge me for it. Imagine if I didn't have to say sorry when I let those parts I don't like leak out of me. If you just held me close when I was anxious for no reason. And that hit me so hard because that is literally me, and then like how my husband treats me. Like, my husband is a perfect angel. I don't know how I got so lucky to have him. So when I read that, it just hit me so hard and I was literally going to start tearing up because I was like, if the whole book is Esther being like this and then her future love of her life being like that, so literally being like me and my husband, I'm going to be obsessed with this book. So already really enjoying it. So let's just keep reading a little bit more. Alrighty, it is time for a reading update on the 7 X's because it is the next night. And I started this video yesterday morning and I have not seen you since because yesterday was just crazy, and then today I was also like editing and doing other work stuff for a long while. So I did get about a little bit over 100 pages in. I am on chapter 12 of 7 X's. Like literally yesterday, I think I only read 1 or 2 chapters. So I was like, okay, I'm not giving an update after 1 or 2 chapters because that makes 0 sense. So I'll give you an update now that we actually learned what is going on in the book and what the overall plot of it is going to be. Esther, she is almost 30 and she does not have like a significant other. She's not having any luck dating. So one night her and her girlfriends go out for a drink and I think they get a little sloshed. So they find this old magazine article about the 7 loves of your life. There is the first love, the work mistake, the overlap, the friend with benefits, the mischance, the bastard, and the serious one. So Esther is like, oh my gosh, I have an ex that meets every single one of those descriptions. So one of them has to be my true love, according to this article. What this article is saying, apparently it's like scientific evidence that one of these 7 people will be like your soulmate. So now Esther is trying to track down all of her ex-boyfriends that meet these characteristics. And it's really interesting. It's like dual timeline. Well, more than dual. It's a lot of different timelines because for each boyfriend, you get to like go back in the past and see Esther's relationship start with them and then how it evolves, how it ends, and now her present day meeting up with that ex. So it's definitely interesting. I have a few tabs here just of some quotes that I like, but nothing like substantial. I think it'll be really interesting to see how the story goes. Like I'm very curious to find out whether Esther ends up with one of these 7 men that she's already dated or if it's going to be a totally new love interest, because in the prologue you kind of see and know that she is with someone now and it's like 3 months later than when the book is actually taking place and she's like going through all these exes. So it's like, you know, she's happily with someone, but you're like, who is it? Is it one of these men or is it just going to be a totally new person? I don't know. It's pretty fast paced. I mean, it just keeps on going and going. There's not really any filler. Like literally every single chapter, if it's not like in the past with one of her ex-boyfriends and showing their relationship, then it is in the present where she's freaking out about like meeting up with her ex again or talking with her girlfriends about meeting up with the ex again. So definitely quirky. Honestly, it's kind of funny. Like it seems kind of like rom-com, but also in the same way it does very much read just like a women's fiction rather than a rom-com. But it is pretty quirky, and I don't know if that has anything to do with like just the wording in general, and I feel like there's definitely some words in here that I'm like, I don't know what that means, because the author is English, I'm pretty sure, and the characters are all English, so there's just a lot of things that come out of their mouth and I'm like, is that normal for talking over there? Because I don't get it. So I feel like that is my only complaint with it so far, is some of the writing I'm not a fan of, but I don't really want to critique it on the writing because obviously like I'm not an English person, so obviously the writing's going to be a little bit differently to me. And also this is like 400 pages, I think, and we're already a quarter way done, and we're just now getting to the second X. So I'm like, how many X's are just gonna be like squeezed in there? Like, I don't know what's gonna go on with all these X's. I am very curious about all the X's. I'll tell you that. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep trying to chug away at this, and I'll update you again at some point. Alrighty guys, I literally just finished 7 X's by Lucy Vine, and I'm gonna go over my final thoughts. I think I read about 300 pages today, so it is very, very quick. It's a very simple read. I mean, it is very heavily dialogue and then also just like the main character's inner thoughts. So it is a pretty simple read, so it doesn't take too much time to get through, which is kind of nice sometimes. So I had only given you one other update yesterday, and honestly, I feel like nothing really super substantial happened where I was like, oh my gosh, I need to give an update on what is happening within the plot. There was one point earlier today where I was actually shocked by something. Something was revealed about one of Esther's exes, and I would have never seen that coming from a mile away. It's not like a mystery book or anything, but there are a few mysteries within some of the characters in this book. So when those were revealed, I was definitely surprised, definitely super shocked by the main one. But then with other side character plot twists as well, I was definitely still surprised by them. So that was definitely interesting. Like, I wasn't expecting any sort of mysteries to be going on in this book. I wasn't expecting to be like shocked or fully blown away by anything in this book. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. As for like the actual main plot of the book, where Esther is meeting up with her 7 exes to try and figure out which one of them is the one, I have to say it was a little bit boring. Some of the exes I just like, well, really all of the exes I feel like I didn't care about whatsoever, because again, I mentioned a little bit last night that there's only so much time that she really has to talk about these exes, because it's a 400-page book. There's 7 exes, and we really didn't start talking about the exes until like page 100. So that's only 300 pages to talk about all these exes, to meet up with them, to figure out if they're the one. So I just feel like I could not really connect with any of those characters to really care about Esther and their relationship together. Also, I just did not like our main character, Esther, really whatsoever. She is very self-absorbed. She thinks the world revolves around her. She doesn't care about like her friends, and she's really just like, how I'm feeling is the only thing that matters, and how everyone else is feeling does not matter. So I'm just gonna like act out. So she was kind of an insufferable main character. Really disliked reading about her, which is unfortunate since the whole book is about her. The whole book trying to find the love of her life, because she's almost 30 years old and she feels like she needs to settle down. So it's like, I understand that girl is stressed, you know, I understand that she wants love, but that does not give her the excuse to treat her friends in her life so poorly, and also just like some of the past exes in her life so poorly. Like, she's just not a great person in my eyes. So that really took away from a lot of the book for me. Like, I feel like if it was actually a character that I could relate to more, or like even just not such a bad person, I would have enjoyed this book so much more. But it's like, okay, I can kind of see why you have so many exes and why you haven't found the one. It's because of your personality. I really liked Esther's friends, Louise and then BB. Really liked them. I thought they were super funny. They were super caring and supportive friends, and it's like, okay, if Esther could have been like them, I would have loved Esther too. I will say another thing I was surprised with is who Esther ends up with at the end. Definitely did not see it being that person, so I feel like that's a good ending too. And there definitely is some character development within Esther as well, which thank God, because if she would have been the exact same person at the end of the book, even though like she was acting like a terrible person still like 90% through the book, so she just had like this revelation, and it's like, okay, wish we could have gotten better Esther for more of the book than just like the last few chapters there. But there definitely was character development, character growth within her. Again, thank God. Definitely very funny. I'm not sure how well you guys can see it, but I have a few different tab colors here. The light pink ones are for moments that I thought were funny or relatable, or just like quotes that I liked, but a majority of them are like funny or relatable ones. So yeah, definitely had its quirkiness, had its quirky characters. I really enjoyed like the other main side characters other than Esther. I enjoyed the side characters more than I enjoyed the main character. So it was a little bit rough to get through. I think I'm going to land on a 3-star rating. If any of this sounds interesting to you, if you are kind of fine with like I think she was an annoying main character, but also just like, she's got to figure out her life. If you're fine with a main character like that, I would definitely recommend picking it up and trying it, because I can definitely see how a lot of people would enjoy this. But for me, unfortunately, like Esther's character just really, really lowered the rating for me. So our first book for reading kind of romancy love stories for this video is over. Let's see what we read next. Alrighty, hello. I have started another book in the meantime. Actually, you've already seen it. And also my husband is coughing, so.
Sorry.
But anyways, I don't know why I'm like, acting all mysterious. I started a new book. What is it? Because you literally already saw the clips of me picking out the book and then starting it. So I started Betting on You by Lynn Painter. This is another one of her YA romances. And I really love Lynn Painter YA romances. I love her adult romances as well, the 2 of them that I have read. And then I've read, this will be my 4th YA romance by her. I just love her YA romances. Like, they're so funny. The banter between the characters. I like when romance books like don't have a huge amount of spice in them, because sometimes I just feel like that takes away from the actual connection and the actual characters and their character growth and development and just their overall connection in the book if it's like overly spicy. So I really, really love YA romances for that reason, and I think Lynn Painter just does a phenomenal job. Like, again, all of her YA romances top tier, and this one's already looking that way. I am about 200 pages in. I have my cute little cat bookmark because the main character Bailey has a cat. I don't know how well you can see it there on the cover, but I was like, okay, that's just fitting. And yeah, I am just really, really liking this book so far. It is very, very fast and easy to read. Really, really cute. It's about Bailey and then Charlie. So they actually meet on an airplane because they're both children of divorce, which, me also being a child of divorce, I feel like I am very much relating to the characters even more for that reason. But they're just teenagers and they meet on an airplane as they're traveling back home to Nebraska from visiting their parents, and they do not get along. They're stuck sitting together on like an 8-hour flight, and Charlie is just such a like sarcastic, go with the flow, like big personality, and then Bailey is more so like quiet and reserved and like a rule follower. So they do not get off on the right foot and they butt heads, and this I feel like could be an enemies to lovers, but not like fantasy enemies to lovers, obviously, but like they dislike each other. It's definitely a dislike going on, and they think that'll be the last time they ever see each other after getting off that airplane. But then a few years later, they run into each other again, and then another year after that, they run into each other again because they are now co-workers. Yep, we've got forced proximity because they work together. And there's like not a ton of fake dating, but a little bit of a fake dating aspect because they are both like kind of recently single. So sometimes this is a little toxic of them, but if they are going to be in a place where their ex is at, Charlie and Bailey will pretend to be dating and be there together so that they can make their exes jealous. It's so funny because I still wouldn't say they're like friends. Like, maybe you could say they're friends. It's definitely like friendly flirting going on, but so much banter because again, their personalities are so different, so they just kind of clash, and it's really cute, honestly. But I really, really love the divorced child representation in this book because again, like, I am a child of divorce, and the feelings that these characters talk about with their parents, and like their parents' new relationships are so real. Like, one of the biggest issues in this book for Bailey is that her mom is dating a new man, and she feels like this man is kind of trying to replace her dad. So she does not really like the man for that reason, and Charlie is like, I'm gonna come in there and show you like what you need to do, how you need to act toward him to put him in his place. And Bailey just like kind of goes along with it. She's like, okay, I'll let you help me with this stuff. And then Connor, he just kind of feels like he is unseen because his mom is with a new boyfriend and he has a younger sister, so like the attention is always on her instead of him, so they don't really care what he's up to. So pretty sad for the both of them. I feel like they both really need this. Oh, also, Bailey is literally like a bookstagrammer. She's a book influencer, so I love that for our girl, and she's literally in high school. So yeah, I'm definitely liking seeing their little friendship. I'm gonna call it a friendship, even though they don't really like to call it a friendship. They're kind of denying it, to be honest, but I really like it. I think it's cute. I love the banter, and I've gotten through these 200 pages just in like a few hours. It is flying by, definitely keeping me entertained. There's not really any like filler. It just keeps on going from one thing to the next, and I really appreciate that. Also, I have the cutesy little sprayed edge edition, and I am definitely matching the book today. That was not my intention because honestly, after looking at the spine for months, I thought that the cover would be this like teal blue color. So when I put this sweater on this morning, I was like, this is perfect. But yeah, I'm gonna just keep chugging away at this book, but it's been really, really cute so far. It has been a very lazy Saturday reading day, so I just finished Betting on You by Lynn Painter. I finished this in under 24 hours, so if that doesn't tell you guys how quick and easy it is, how entertained I was, because obviously, like, if I wasn't into it, I wouldn't have just been picking it up and binging it. It would have taken me longer to read. So definitely such a cute, light, fluffy, like heartwarming YA romance, just like all of Lynn Painter's YA romance books. Where I left off last night, Charlie and Bailey's friendship just kind of grows more, and they are almost like practicing dating on each other for when they want to actually go out and date after, you know, being in a relationship and then broken up with. So now they're practicing. So they are doing things that couples would do. They're basically fake dating for a period of time, but the lines become very blurry. And there is a lot of conflict that comes about later in the book because basically we find out right away that Charlie and Bailey kind of make this bet that they're like, guys and girls can't be just friends. Like, there's always something more happening there. Charlie is like, he fully believes that. He believes that if a guy and a girl are friends, they will end up together. And then Bailey is like, no, you can definitely just have guy friends. So that's definitely interesting, seeing where Charlie and Bailey end up at the end of the book. I really loved Bailey and her mom's relationship as well. It is very like Lorelai and Rory from Gilmore Girls coded. It is just so cute. Reminds me of my mom and myself as well. And then Charlie, poor Charlie, he suffers from anxiety, which, as someone who also suffers from anxiety, I love seeing that representation in books and just how all these different characters react differently to their own anxiety, because it's just like so realistic. I loved the friendship, I loved the flirtiness, I loved the banter, I loved the pining that comes at the end. I will say there is kind of like miscommunication, and I don't know if I would really call it a third act breakup, but really reminds me of a third act breakup. But in YA novels, I can get behind miscommunication tropes and third act breakups because they're literally teenagers. Like, duh, there's gonna be miscommunication. Duh, they're not gonna know how to like work out their feelings and say how they're feeling. Like, that's just being a teenager. My issue with it is in adult romances where the characters are like 30 and acting like literal children. So in this book, I really didn't mind it, and it was very, very brief, like not long whatsoever. And then the resolution at the end with it, I thought was handled very well. I just love seeing Charlie and Bailey both grow. Like, Bailey is growing in ways with her mom and the divorce and how that's affecting her. And then Charlie is also growing with like his own internal turmoil after watching his parents go through divorce, and just like thinking that relationships are always bound to end, that they can never have a happy ending. And then also just their growth together as friends. I loved all of it. I think I'm gonna land at a 4-star rating. It is definitely cute. I would definitely recommend it. I just don't love it quite as much as other Lynn Painter novels. Like, better than the movies and nothing like the movies, those two books will always be the top of my Lynn Painter YA novels. And then I really, really like The Do-Over as well. That one's really fun because it's got like some magical realism in there. So, but yeah, this one is also very, very good, and you should definitely pick it up. Now, I think for the next book, I am going to go with The Rose Bargain. I actually just bought this on my birthday, which I think the vlog where I buy this is coming out after this vlog that you're currently watching. So this is a little sneak peek for you guys, I guess. I just got The Rose Bargain, and the only thing I know about this is that it is a YA romantasy, and that it is like a mix of The Cruel Prince and Bridgerton. Now, I love The Cruel Prince. The Cruel Prince was actually the first fantasy series I read when I got back into reading a few years ago. So like, for that reason, it will always have a special place in my heart, and also it just being such an amazing story. And then Bridgerton, I have not read the books yet. I really want to, but I have watched the show and I love the show. The show is like one of my favorite shows of all time. So I was like, I need to read this because I love The Cruel Prince and Bridgerton. And there is a lot, or there are a lot, I should say, of blurbs from different authors in here about the book. And then Stephanie Garber actually has one on the cover that says deliciously dark and romantic. And I love Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I like the Caraval series, but Once Upon a Broken Heart takes the cake. So I'm really excited to start this, and I'm excited to mix up the kind of more romance heavy books with some fantasy involved. So yeah, that's all I know about this book. I will definitely tell you more once I get a little bit into it and I know what's going on. Alrighty, I have started The Rose Bargain by Sasha Peyton Smith, and I have been loving it. I've been eating it up. I started a little bit of it last night, honestly, just like a few pages, and then I really cracked into it today, and I have not really been able to put it down since I started it earlier today, because the whole just premise of the book I am obsessed with. I'll tell you a little bit about it. I feel like the writing is just so immersive. Like, I don't feel like I am just reading the words on paper. I feel like I am in the book, like I am in this world, which it's set like Regency era England, but there is like a fantasy realm within the world, like a fairy realm. I don't know why I said fairy like that, but like a fairy realm that they call the other world, I think, in this book, and they call like the people from that world the others, but they're fae. So the Queen of England is actually fae, and when girls are like presenting themselves to society to like debut to try and find a husband, like in Regency era, that is all accurate, I'm pretty sure. But in this book, The Rose Bargain, the girls can make a magical bargain with this fae queen to basically make themselves better for finding a suitor, finding a future husband. So they are called rose bargains. Like, an example of one that we see earlier on in the book is actually our main character's mom, and she wanted to have a better memory so that she'd be able to like remember everything about all the men that were courting her, and so that she could just remember everything, like all the details of not just the men, but like everyone around her, everything around her. But she had to give up something, which is what you have to do for these bargains, and like usually the better the deal you're getting, like to enhance yourself, the worse thing that's gonna happen to you. So I think her mom just like lost a finger for having a better memory, so nothing too drastic, but there's definitely more like crazy ones that we see later in the book as we are following Ivy, the main character. This is her first year, like her debut, and the Fae Queen's son, the prince, is actually looking for a wife. So it's giving me the Selection vibes, because if you read the Selection, then you know that like girls can sign up to date the prince basically, and then he will choose one of them. So a bunch of the girls are going to try and like sign up to date the prince to hopefully marry him, become the princess. But it is very, very, very high stakes. I'm not going to say what because I don't want to spoil anything, but I loved it. And then after that, there was like another competition, and it was maypole dancing. I had no idea what maypole dancing was, so I Googled it and like watched a video, and I was like, oh, that doesn't seem bad. Like, I don't see why Ivy, our main character, and like all the other girls competing in this competition were complaining so much. But then Ivy is like, we'd been going at it for over 2 hours, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like, if you do anything for over 2 hours, it's gonna be tiring, but like this maypole dance, and it was like not on good ground, so I think there is gonna be somewhat of a love triangle, because obviously Ivy wants to be able to court the prince and marry him because her family is not super well off. There's been some scandal within her family, so like society just wants nothing to do with Ivy and her family. So she is trying to better the reputation of her family. Even if she doesn't marry the prince, at least like that will get her family's name out there and hopefully more respected. But there is another prince. It is the Fae Queen's husband's son. So like not the Fae Queen's biological son, basically her stepson, but he is full human. And him and Ivy are kind of working together on something. Something is revealed about just like the world and the queen and some sketchy stuff with it. I'm not gonna say more than that. So she's like trying to win over the Fae prince, but I feel like there's gonna be some romance and chemistry between her and the human prince as well. I am loving it. Like, the publisher who said it's a mix of Cruel Prince and Bridgerton, 100%, but then I would also say, like, sprinkle the selection in there, because there's these girls all fighting over the prince. But I'm loving the whole, like, rose bargain aspect. I thought that that was so cool for these girls who are being presented to society. And also, like, you definitely have a little bit more of the politics that the Cruel Prince is so heavy on. And you have the Bridgerton Regency era. I am just eating it up, you guys, once again. I don't even think I told you how far I am into it. I am on page 111. I'm not sure what chapter. Not gonna say any more than that, but I did know what chapter I was on, but now there's like there's something else thrown in there instead of a normal chapter. So I'm excited to get to that and see what that all entails. It is going so fast though, because it just has my attention every single page. I just need to find out what's going to happen. So I am going to keep reading, and I will update you guys again at some point. I just finished The Rose Bargain literally like 2 minutes ago, and I am obsessed with it. The only thing I am not happy about is the cliffhanger ending and the next book not coming out until next year, which this book just came out on February 4th. I didn't know if it was going to be standalone or going to be a series, but it sounds like it's going to be a duology, so book 2 will be out sometime in 2026. I'm not looking forward to having to wait for that, but this was such an amazing YA romantasy. It was a little dark. I loved where the story continued to go after what I left off telling you guys yesterday. There are some like dangerous magical trials that the queen makes these girls do who are competing to marry the prince, her son. Also, there is a mystery to this book because right away in the beginning, we know that Ivy's sister Lydia has been missing. And we also know that Lydia is a few years older than Ivy, so when she made her debut into society and made her rose bargain with the queen, she made a bargain and now she can't even remember what it is. And she basically says that this bargain like ruined her life and it has made the family just like miserable, everyone in the family. So there's this mystery throughout the whole book and you're like, okay, what could Lydia's bargain have been? And then that mystery, as well as other crazy plot points, just unravel and unravel and unravel to the end of the book. I also loved the other girls that were competing with Ivy for the prince, and like all of their backstories, hearing about their bargains and just like all these other crazy secrets. Again, it was so fast paced, it did not ever stop. There was really no filler or anything. Like, I feel like every single page had something significant that tied it into the story. After reading a lot of the things toward the end, it makes me want to go back to the beginning and see if any of that was foreshadowed or hinted at a little bit. And I always love when a book can do that, because if I want to reread a book after just finishing it, that tells you that it is good. The only complaint I really have with the book, which isn't even like a huge complaint, especially now knowing that it's going to have another book, is that I felt like Ivy and then one of the other love interests would have loved to see a little bit more chemistry between them, because at the end, like, I liked how it happened, but also I feel like I was not totally invested in them because we didn't get a ton of chemistry from them. I do still like them, don't get me wrong, but I would have loved to see a little bit more, and for that reason, I feel like I'm gonna go with a 4.5-star rating on this book. It wasn't quite 5-star. It just didn't give me that 5-star feeling, and I think if there was more chemistry, maybe some more tension, which there was a bit of tension, but I love as much tension as we can get, then that would have been a little bit better. But I loved this. It definitely gives The Cruel Prince and Bridgerton the selection. It just like mashes it all up together so perfectly. You have the Fae and how they're just like kind of terrible people, like in The Cruel Prince. You have the selection like contest going on here with the Fae Prince and then the human girls who are competing for him. You have Bridgerton because we're in Regency England. You have the romance, you have the magical aspects from the Fae world. And it was so easy to understand. Like, it's not a complex world building in the beginning because, again, it's basically like 1800 England, but just with the aspect of the Fae world being there as well. But the way that the author describes it is just so easy to understand. Like, it's not confusing whatsoever. And also, I feel like there's not, like, such a huge element of magic that it's hard to understand. It's really just more so, like, stuff sprinkled throughout. I do think the next book is gonna have a lot more of that magic. And we're gonna see a lot more of the Fae world in that book. But still, like, I don't think it'll be confusing. Maybe that's because I've read so many other Fae books. But even if this were your first Fae book, I feel like it would not be difficult to understand. Whereas even, like, The Cruel Prince, that is one of my favorite fantasy series. And I feel like that is a little difficult to understand it sometimes just because, like, the Fae world was confusing to me then. Again, maybe it wouldn't be now, but I feel like, again, if this was your first one, it wouldn't be confusing. You'd be able to just pick it up and go because it has the Fae world mixed with the real world. I don't know. I just think the overall premise of this book was really unique, with the rose bargains being like a huge aspect of the book. And there's another thing to come with that and the queen, which I'm not going to tell you about because I don't want to spoil anything, but it was just done so well. Okay, I'm going to cut myself off because I feel like I could just keep talking about this and I need to wrap up this video. So 4.5 stars. This was definitely my favorite book of this video, reading romancy books for Valentine's Day, but let's do a quick recap of the other books I read. Before I picked up The Rose Bargain, I had read Betting on You by Lynn Painter. This is one of her YA romances, and this one was really, really sweet. I gave it a 4-star rating. And then the first book I started out in today's video was 7 Exes, and this one was good. Was it amazing? No. Was it bad? No. So I landed on a 3-star rating. I really like sort of the found family and like friendship love throughout this book, but I didn't love our main character and really like any of her love interests because I feel like we didn't get enough time with all of them to really care, which I feel like the meaning of this book is supposed to be more so like your partner is supposed to amplify parts of your life that you already love. They are not supposed to be the main thing that like your whole world revolves around. So I did like that message. I liked how in the end the character kind of realizes that, but it was nothing crazy for me. So that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to like it, comment any other videos you would like to see from me in the future. I hope you read these books if they sound interesting to you and you enjoy them. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!